Fixer family, it's Charmin, and on today's video I have my 10 favorite Christmas DIY projects from videos past. But before we jump into those videos, I wanted to say a big welcome to all of the new Fixer family members. So glad that you're here. And if this is the first time that you have visited my channel, consider becoming one of those Fixer family members and hitting that subscribe button and the notification bell right next to it so that you're notified each time we upload new videos. I upload videos every Friday and I throw in some bonus videos from time to time. And I also want to let you know that down in the description box, I have created a supply list for each one of the 10 favorites. And I also have created a timestamp so that you can jump to your favorite DIY or just kind of check them all out at one time. So without further ado, let's get into number 1. You'll see little hands come in here to help me, but we're going to take our picture frames and we're going to go ahead and we're going to take all of the insides out of it, the backing, all the paper. We'll set the glass aside because we are going to be using it. And then of course any of the little tabs that may be on there that hold the back on, we're going to go ahead and pull those out as well. So we'll get all 3 of these prepared and then we'll start to paint. Now first we started with acrylic paint, but it wasn't doing the trick. It was going to take several coats. So I grabbed my favorite spray paint and let my little helper help me out, and we got these painted in this, I think it's called a crimson red. I can't really remember exactly what the color was, but this turned out really good. One good thick coat did the trick. So once we got those dried, we were ready to start putting on our joy, and we took a snowflake from the Dollar Tree. It's an ornament. Put it on our center glass, and then I took the little cardboard piece that was in there to help me kind of make sure that I got this the letters good and centered right on these glass. And so we did that with both the J and the Y. And then we'll take and put those into our frames. Of course, we'll turn our frame upside down, and taking our hot glue, we're going to glue around the edges of it and stick our glass panes in it upside down. And then once we turn it over, you'll see that we have, of course, our letters. Once we get all that done, then we're going to take a piece of ribbon, and I just laid it out before I cut it to figure out exactly what size I needed, and made a little bow for the top of it. And there you go, a very simple yet very high-end looking Christmas wall hanging. So we're going to take one of our little truck ornaments and begin to prepare it to go inside the little snow globe. And I took the wire hanger off, and my little tree kind of fell off, so I just glued that back on there. And the way that you get it to stand up in there is really simple. I just took some hot glue and put it on the bottom of the wheels, and then set it right inside the little jar here and held it till it got firm. Now, for my little jar here, even with it dead center in there, it wanted to rock forward. And so I had to counterbalance it. If you run into this issue, I just got one of the little sticks that I've been using for other projects and used this, set it behind the truck, and it definitely counters the weight really well. So I wanted it to blend in with the snow, so I painted it white. and let that completely dry. And then I took and put a little bit of hot glue in there and then slid it right behind the little truck back there so that it would be in there, and then of course kind of be concealed by the snow that I'm putting in there, of course the table salt. So once we got that in there, we're just ready to pour in our table salt, and I'm going to probably put a little bit more in there than needs to be so that I can kind of lightly easily knock it out as with the opening there, so that you can get the right amount in there to not totally bury your little truck in there. Once you get the amount you want, then you just put the lid on there, kind of clean off the dust, I guess you could say, and then just put the lid on it, and you've got a cute little tabletop decor or a tiered tray decor. I just love the way this turned out. Now, if you guys have been following me for any length of time, you know I love these little houses from Dollar Tree. And with these, I got the 3 different sizes, and I wanted to go ahead and I used my Waverly chalk paint to paint the inside of each one of the houses. Now, I painted about, I think, 2 coats on these, and then I took the scrapbooking paper. I got 3 different types to put in there so that, of course, I painted it so that it wouldn't show through in the paper. Now, the easiest way to get the right size on your house is to line up one side and, of course, the side and the bottom into the corner, and then take your finger and run it along the inside edge of the other 3 sides. Once you get that scored, then you'll see where the line is, and you'll be able to cut it out right on the lines there and get it, and it'll fit perfectly. This was just a little tip I wanted to give you on how to make sure that your paper fits. So then I just took some Mod Podge and put a pretty decent, pretty thick coat down in there, and then laid the paper in there. Now, I didn't add any to the top of it because I was trying to keep it from bubbling. I just took my paintbrush, and it may have had a little bit on there, but just to kind of smooth it out a bit to make sure we didn't have any bubbles. And then I just began to embellish them with bottle brush trees, ornaments from the Dollar Tree, just pieces of greenery and ribbon, stuff that I've had left over from other projects. Just whatever you have on hand, you can take and make these just whatever you would like for them to be. And I absolutely love the way that these turned out. We're going to take 2 of the white Christmas trees from the Dollar Tree, and of course not using the little stands or the plastic pieces on the bottom of the little metal pole that they use to make these. So we're going to pull those off, and with one of them we're going to take and we're going to fluff it, but we're going to make the little tree limbs go in a downward motion, I guess you could kind of call it, or a downward place, and we're only going to do it on one side of the tree, and that's going to make this look a whole lot fuller, because we're going to do the same thing with the other tree, and then we will back it up to each other, putting them together using zip ties to hold them together. And this does 2 things. One, doing them downward, it makes it look fuller. And then, of course, putting 2 of them together makes these sparse little trees look a whole lot fuller. So taking our zip ties, I'm using 2 of them to bring it together as tight as we can, fluffing it out a little bit, and then we're going to use our little Santa bucket that I also found at the Dollar Tree to put it in. I thought this was so super cute. So using some of our foam, we're just sticking it down in there and then taking the little center poles that these are put on. We're going to take those and just push it right down into that foam. Now, because these are going downward, you can barely, if at all, see the green foam down in the bucket. Now, if you don't like it and want to cover it, you feel free to do that. It's all right to go ahead and cover it, but I couldn't really see it on mine. So once we have it ready, now we're ready to give our little Santa tree a belt. And I'm using some 2-inch black satin ribbon. Now, this is not wired ribbon, it's just little satin ribbon that I had picked up at Walmart. And I'm just kind of eyeballing it around the tree. I didn't measure, so you just kind of see how you want it to come around there and how you want it to hang. And I just overlapped it a little bit and then took some hot glue and made sure that it was good and secure, and then just kind of fixed it around the edge. I then found this gold ribbon. This is about a 1/2 inch to 1 inch wide, and you can use any type of ribbon. You can also use gold paint if you want to. That works too. But I just cut 4 pieces, measured it to fit my ribbon, and glued them into a square to make a buckle. And I thought this turned out so stinking cute. This is really one of my favorite projects that I did. And just glued that to what I would call the front of my tree. And then I had found this little headband that had this cute little Santa hat on it. So I took this and it came off super easy. And the little seam on the inside, I was take a pair of scissors and easily just cut that open and kind of push the batting kind of to the side on each side so that I could just stick it right on top of our little tree. See how I just kind of dug it in there? I left it in there because we wanted it to be full, and just stuck it right on top. Isn't he turning out, oh, just adorable? So then I took some Dollar Tree ornaments here and I just began to put these all over it, and that kind of brought in what I would call my take on his red Santa suit. And guys, again, I'll say this, I think that my Santa tree turned out so stinking cute. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. The Dollar Tree has had these deer head ornaments, and I think they're super cute. And so we're going to create some little decor pieces by taking out the glass and cutting a piece of burlap to completely cover the front side of the glass. Now, of course, I'm using hot glue, and make sure you use either those little finger protectors or something because, of course, burlap is porous and you don't want to burn yourself. But once you get it all wrapped around all 4 sides, just cut off the excess, and then you're ready to put it back into the frame. Now, you can glue the backing onto this because it is going to be a bit thick. But this particular frame, really both of them that I used, the little tabs were long enough for me to get the glass down in there and then to put the backing back on it. And I used my scissors just to bend those little tabs back over the backing, and once you've got those on there, it stood up and worked just fine. So once we get it ready for the next step, we're going to take our little deer head and we're going to mount it to the front of our little picture frame. And it's just simple to figure out where you want it, glue it down, and I just used hot glue and it held really, really well. And then embellish it with an ornament, a bow, or greenery, just however you want to make this your own.
I wanted to jump in here really quick for two things. One is I want to give a huge congratulations to Maggie Baxter. She is the winner of our Friend Friday Hop giveaway that we did last Friday, October 30th, and I am so excited for her. Now guys, y'all have another opportunity to win a huge giveaway. Heidi is doing another Friend Friday Hop today, and you guys can jump over there, and guys, it is awesome. There is tons of neat things. It is a crafter's paradise, and you will love it. So make sure that you head on over to Heidi's channel and check out that giveaway too, and that Friend Friday Hop for more inspiration. Now, the second thing I want to share with you is I want to remind you, if you haven't already done it, jump on over to Instagram when you're done with this video and give me a follow. I am at Fixin2AL, Fixintoal. I would love to connect with you on a little bit more of a personal level over there, and I would also love for you to join us for our Dollar Tree DIY tour. If you want to know any more information about that, just message me over there on Instagram, and I would love to tell you all about it. So now let's get into project number 6.
So we started out by spray painting our 2 vine wreaths. And I wanted to tell you about this. I used the cheap Walmart spray paint, that 98-cent spray paint, and believe me guys, you definitely want to use a better spray paint because this stuff did not cover. I did several coats and it still really didn't get the color I wanted, but I'm okay with this for sure. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our smaller vine wreath, of course, on the top, and we're going to be using some hot glue to start with, and then we'll come back in with some wire to strengthen it. And guys, I use a lot of hot glue, a lot of it up here, and then held it together to make sure that this sets really well. And even while holding it, I added some more hot glue to make sure that we get a really good hold. But I wanted to make sure that we don't have any issues with this coming apart, so I used some wire to wrap it around several times, pulling it very tightly to make sure that it stays. Now this wire will be covered with the little scarf that we're going to make for our snowman. And we just take it, and it kind of got a little cumbersome there, but figured it out and got it pulled really super tightly and just wrapped it several times around the center of it so that we've got a really good hold. So now that we've gotten it wrapped together and the wire cut off, we're ready to put our little scarf on here. And what I did is I had some leftover buffalo check fleece, and I cut this probably, I think it's about 5 inches. I think each square was 1 inch wide, and I think I did like 5 or 6 squares across. And the neat thing about fleece is that it doesn't ravel. And so once I cut that and everything, I took the ends and just kind of cut up some little strips to give it a little fringe. And then guys, we're going to take and tie it right around his neck and make a cute little scarf for our snowman. But what snowman is not complete without a top hat? And these cute ornaments from the Dollar Tree really just topped it off. Took some hot glue and glued it on, and it was perfect. going to be making these cute little lanterns, and we're just removing any stickers from the bottom and then taking some Mod Podge and taking a paintbrush and putting a really thick coat of Mod Podge all the way around your jar that you're going to use. Now, I wanted to go ahead and get my faux snow ready to go. Once I had the Mod Podge on there, I just wanted to take it and sprinkle it all the way around. And then once we got it covered, then I went back in with my hand and then just lightly kind of patted it down into the Mod Podge so that we got good adhesion with it and everything. And there's a little spot I realized that I missed on here with the Mod Podge, and it was real easy just to take what was left on my little paintbrush and go in with it and fill that in with a little bit more Mod Podge, and then take the little excess, sprinkle it on there, and we got some really good coverage with this. Now, the Mod Podge, of course, will dry clear, so all that will be left on there is, of course, the faux snow. And you can use tea light candles in there, but I used some the battery-powered twinkle lights. So once we had both of these done, then I was ready to embellish these a bit. Now, with the taller jar, I wanted to cover up the kind of like where the lid screwed onto it. I wanted to kind of cover that up, and I just started out with a little bit of hot glue and then just wrapped around some of the twine right around it until it was completely covered, and then just glued the last part of it after I cut it. And then we're going to take with some of our leftover pieces. Now, you guys know I love to cut apart picks, so don't be afraid to cut them apart and use them in all kinds of things, because it's just an inexpensive way to embellish your projects. So as you see, I just took a little bow and some berries and a little piece of evergreen and put that on the taller one, and then I just took some of the greenery and berries and put that on the shorter one. And then, of course, taking some of our twinkle lights, turning those on and putting them inside it really made these just pop. And you can put the battery pack down inside of it, but you will see a little bit of the black through the snow. So I just set mine right behind it. And these are awesome in any part of your Christmas decor. Now, taking an 8x10 wood frame. Now, this one I got at the thrift store, and then I just took all of the picture and the backing out of it and just using the frame, and I painted it with white chalk paint. So I'm going to set that aside, and I'm going to prepare what I'm going to be using to kind of embellish and decorate this as a door hanger. Now, I bought one of the larger red truck ornaments from the Dollar Tree and took it apart, and I took off the little Christmas tree that was on there because I really didn't like that one. And you see this one came and it has 2 holes in it, kind of a bonus, because what I wound up doing is I had gotten these bottle brush trees from Big Lots, and they were the perfect size. And so I took off the little plastic little piece at the bottom, came off really easily. And the little stem at the bottom of the tree fit perfectly inside the little truck. And so I used a little bit of hot glue and had those stuck right in there, and it looked perfect. So now we are ready to put our swag onto the top part of our frame. And I had purchased these little swags from the Dollar Tree. The picks from the Dollar Tree. Guys, their picks are amazing. And so I grabbed a couple of the same and just trying to get it lined up and the size that I want. And then I took and once I got them done, cut off the excess stem using hot glue and glued it across the top. But I wanted to make sure that these did not fall off. And so I took a small little zip tie and put it right there at the stem, the little wired stem area. And you're not going to have to worry about seeing these because we're going to put a nice big bow right there in the corner. So did the same on the second one by putting hot glue and then another one of our little zip ties. So now that we've got those good and secure, we're going to go ahead and we're going to put our little red truck that we changed out the trees on, and we're going to put it down in the bottom opposite corner of our swag, just gluing it down. And oh, I think that this really just made this little door hanger, or really you can use this anywhere. So now we're ready to make our bow, and guys, I have a tutorial on my channel. I'll link it up here for you on how to make this specific bow. But basically we're going to be cutting 3 pieces of each type of bow, and we're going to be putting them together. So just kind of sped it up here, but again, if you want a more in-depth tutorial on how to do this particular bow, check out the link up in the iCards. Now that you have your bow made, we're going to attach it up here in the corner between the 2 picks that we created a swag with. And I'm just kind of threading it through a couple of the loops, and we're going to bring it around the corner there, flipping it over, or in this case, I just slid it off the table a little bit, and just attaching it, twisting it, and then we are ready to fluff it up and make it look absolutely beautiful. And this, again, another one of my favorites. Of course, the first thing that we want to do is make sure that we get the pattern that we want. So we're just going to kind of lay them out. And then, of course, we're going to get them prepared, ready to be painted. But remember, you can also use some paint stirrers from Walmart or from Home Depot. I think they're like 98 cents a pack. And we need 4 rulers, and on one of them, we're going to be marking off about a little more than 1/2 inch because we're going to be making the cuts there. Well, now that they're painted, we're ready to assemble the main part of the snowflake. We're just going to kind of lay it back out again, and then of course assemble it with hot glue. Now we're ready to make these cuts. Now we've already marked them off, and so we're going to take our X-Acto knife and we're going to score all of the places. You'll need 12 of them, 2 for each point. And I just kind of mark the side there so that I can get that same scoring on the opposite side. Then I'm just going to grab a piece of paper towel so that I don't damage it with my needle nose pliers. And we're just going to take and break those off at the score line. And once we break them off, you see that there's these little jagged edges. We're just going to take a piece of sandpaper and lay it on the table and just sand those places off. And then take a little bit of paint and kind of touch up the sides of all of those little blocks. Now we're ready to put them on each tip, and I take a ruler and mark down about 1.5 inches on each tip, and then at an angle with the points pointing towards the middle is where I glue them down with hot glue. And that's what it looks like now. So now we're ready to take the little snowflake ornament that we got there, and before we get started painting it, I'm going to take a little bit of hot glue, and there's a hole at the top where you would usually put a hanger. We're going to fill it in with a little bit of hot glue and let that dry so that we can paint it. Now we're ready to just paint and make this white just like the big one. We're just going to attach it to the center of the big snowflake just to give it a little bit of dimension. I'm going to take a little bit of this twine and create a hanger at the top of the snowflake by just looping it through the hole and then tying a knot in the top of it. And this will give you a way to hang it on your front door or on your Christmas tree, wherever you'd like to put it. And last but not least, we're going to put a little bit of glitz on it. We're going to be using the faux snow that we used when we made our candle holders, using the same technique with the Mod Podge. We're just going to take and brush the Mod Podge onto the snowflake, sprinkle on the snow, and you'll have the little glitz and glamour. I'll make sure that I link that up in the iCards above for you so that you can see how I did it on those candle holders. So the first thing that we're going to do, of course, is take our Christmas trees out of the box. And we won't need the stands. And we also won't need the little plastic piece on the bottom. So we're going to take that off as well. So then what we're going to do is we're actually going to take, before we do any fluffing whatsoever, we're going to take our trees and putting them end to end, just like this, we're going to zip tie them in 2 places so that they will not move. Now that we have it all fluffed out, we're ready to make the center of the centerpiece. We're going to take 2 of these picks and kind of fluffing them out just a little bit. We're going to put them together just like we did the trees using 2 zip ties. And of course I'm using the smaller zip ties. Once we get those secured together, then we're going to take the ribbon and we're going to secure it to the center of this piece. And now that we've got that good and tight, fluffed just a little bit, we're going to take and bring the green part of the centerpiece and we're going to put this right directly in the center of it. Now what you want to do is take and push down really well, and what I did is wound up turning it over so that I could pull it and make sure that it was good and secure and down in those little green limbs. Now we are going to just fluff this bow back up again, and that's the one thing I love about this wired ribbon. Now we're going to take the other 2 picks that we had and we're going to completely disassemble them and pull them apart and have all of these individual pieces so that we can now begin to embellish the centerpiece even more towards the outside. Now one thing that I want you to remember is that what you do on one side, you want to make sure you do on the other side to balance it out. So let's get started making this beautiful. Now you can make this with your color palette that's your decor for Christmas. You can make it glitz and glam. You can make it more rustic. Whatever it is that you like. I'm just taking the berry pick and pulling it apart, putting it in there along with some of those ornaments that I had lying around. I think this turned out absolutely beautiful for any Christmas holiday table. Well, you guys have a beautiful and blessed day. And always remember to keep looking up, because that's where it all is. I'll see you on the next video.